tutti e bentornati a questo nuovo episodio di Ask Manu Italiano, episodio 25, it's episode number 25, and we are in the middle of ne month. What do I mean by ne? That's what I mean. How do I use ne? Ne is a particle, it's a pronoun, it's a bunch of horrible things. And so I've been trying to simplify it so far with two episodes already, episode 23 and episode 24. And today we keep going with something that that I would consider the stumbling point. So far I've told you, and you've understood that ne replaces a quantity or a part of a sentence that kind of could render the idea of it, of them, of whatever we're talking about. So watch those episodes to understand what I mean by that. You could digest those. The quantity you must digest because you are expected to use it as a speaker, even at a lower level, upper beginner or intermediate level. You're expected to use that to speak correctly. The other examples that I showed in the previous two episodes, some are quite advanced, and even some Italians don't use it like that. So I showed you those ones just in case you see them and you don't quite understand. Then now you have the tool to backwards engineer and understand why at least they're saying that way. You may not say it that way, but at least you understand it. But now, today we're looking at things that just don't make sense. If you recall the episode for chi, which was episode number 7, there was a section where I told you that, and in many cases, chi is just part of the verb. It creates a new meaning, and there's no understanding, there's no translating the meaning of chi because it just doesn't make sense. It just creates a new verb, just like phrasal verbs in English. What's the difference between to get, in, out, up, of? There's so many prepositions that you could put with get, and the final meaning of the verb, it's not necessarily related to the preposition meaning up. Okay, get up, yes, you're getting up, so that makes sense. But there are other situations where it doesn't quite make sense in English, but you just accept it. That's what I'm about to show you. There's a bunch of verbs, and these are not all of them, but that have the preposition ne as part of the infinitive, and therefore create a new meaning. So whenever you hear those nes that you don't quite understand, it could just be that it's part of a verb that you don't know. And let's see if I can teach you some of those verbs. Let's have a look at ne as part of verbs, and yes, brace yourself. It's going to be challenging. So the most common one that you will hear a lot, and hopefully you'll start using, is the verb andarsene. Now, andare means to go. Andarsi, that's the say, would make it reflexive, but how can you go yourself? It means nothing. And then the ne means of it. So literally means to go oneself of it, which of course means nothing, so we don't do that. We don't translate it. We just accept that andarsene is a new verb that means to leave, as in to go away, to hit the road. I'm out of here. So if we're having dinner and I look at the time and it's, it's late, okay, me ne vado, I'm leaving. How is this different from vado? Well, vado would require that you tell me where you're going, because vado means I go, and Italians would want to know where you're going. You'd have to say vado a casa, vado al lavoro, vado via. You would have to say where you're going. Vado via meaning I go away. Andarsene, it just means I'm taking off. I'm out of here. So it's more colloquial, and that's used so much in Italy. So me ne vado, I'm leaving. Te ne vai, are you leaving? Are you going? So please use it because that's really cool. But again, that name means nothing, so you might not understand it. There's a similar verb that it's andarne. So it's not reflexive anymore, it's just andarne. This one means to be at stake. So if I say ne va del mio onore, that means my honor is at stake. Okay? Now you're not going to use this one much, but I just wanted to show you that if you hear ne va, you might get confused because that name means nothing. Here's another one that is useful. It's the verb approfittarsene. Approfittarsene, again it's reflexive and it's got the ne, and it means to take advantage. Okay? So you could say to take profit of something. So, if I say Serena è una persona molto generosa e Marco se ne approfitta. Serena è una persona molto generosa. Serena is a very generous person e Marco se ne approfitta, and Marco takes advantage of it. Haha, of it. Here it comes again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the other episodes. This of it is the key to ne. Okay. Serena è una parola. So Marco se ne approfitta. If you don't understand why it's becoming se ne approfitta, watch episode number 24, because I explain why that se ne is happening. But that se is the reflexive pronoun si, changed to se. So, me ne approfitto, I take advantage of it. Te ne approfitti, you take advantage of it. Se ne approfitta, he or she takes advantage of it. Ce ne approfittiamo, we take advantage of it. So that's the idea, okay? So it's a reflexive verb, but you gotta use it with the ne. Dirne. Dire means to tell or to say, and dirne means to think. So, che ne dici di andare al cinema? Che ne dici di andare al cinema? It's like in English saying, how about we go to the cinema? So it's like, what do you say to going to the cinema? Okay? What do you think about going to the cinema? Or, what do you think of it? Of it. There are two expressions that we use in Italian. One is dirne di tutti i colori. Dirne di tutti i colori. To tell stuff of all colors. And that means to say bad things about somebody, like to gossip, you know. She said horrible things about her mother-in-law. Ne ha dette di tutti i colori sulla suocera. Ne ha dette di tutti i colori sulla suocera. Ne ha dette, she said, of all colors. I don't know, it doesn't translate, it's just a colorful thing that I thought you might hear at times. And then we got farne di tutti i colori is when you cause a lot of trouble, you make a mess. Usually it's used for children, you know, like when you got like a child that is very, very naughty, then they make them of all colors. So Marco ne fa di tutti i colori. Ne fa di tutti i colori. So again, I'm conjugating the verb for the subject, Marco, and I have to put the ne before. And it gives that meaning of making a mess. Here's another one that it's more useful that you might want to use. Actually, you might want to use the next one. It's the same as this one, but it's more colloquial. This one is infischiarsene. Infischiarsene means to not care. Jacopo se ne infischia di quello che dice la madre. Jacopo se ne infischia di quello che dice la madre. Jacopo does not care of what his mom says. He doesn't care of it. That's the ne. Jacopo se ne infischia. Again, it's a reflexive verb used with the ne. You have to learn how to use that. But there is a more colloquial version, and it's kind of more. It's more like dialect based, but it's used in Italian, and it's fregarsene. Works the same. So me ne frego, I don't care about it, or the same sentence as before. Marco se ne frega di quello che dice la madre. Marco se ne frega. Here's another one that is quite useful, and it's the verb intendersene. Intendersene, reflexive with the ne, it means to have knowledge about something or to be an expert. So if I say, se vuoi comprare una macchina italiana, parla con Marco, lui se ne intende. Se vuoi comprare una macchina italiana, if you want to buy an Italian car, parla con Marco, talk to Marco. Lui se ne intende. He knows a bunch about them. He knows a bunch of Italian cars. He knows a bunch of them. So he's an expert of cars, okay. Here's another one that is going to confuse you a little bit. There's three options. Restarsene, rimanersene, and starsene. They all mean the same thing. They mean to stay, just like they would without the sene part. But what can we do? We double up. Sono stanco, me ne resto a casa. Sono stanco, me ne resto a casa. I'm tired, I'm staying home. I could say sono stanco, resto a casa. Just the same, but we use it as a reflexive because it's like saying, I'm gonna give myself a day at home. You know, it's like, it's more personal. That's what a reflexive verb is, right? It makes it more personal. So you might hear it that way. Sono stanco, me ne sto a casa, or me ne rimango a casa. You can use either of those three verbs, okay? Careful that rimanere is irregular when you conjugate it. Tornare. Here's another one that it's got the same meaning as the version without the sene, but it makes it more personal, so we use it. So, tornarsene means to go back. Dopo la festa se ne sono tornati Dopo la festa se ne sono tutti tornati a casa a piedi. Dopo la festa se ne sono tornati tutti a casa a piedi. I can put the tutti wherever I want, but after the party they all went home walking or on foot or by foot, whatever. I forgot how to say that. Se ne sono tornati. I could have said sono tornati a casa, just fine, but se ne sono tornati. It sounds more personal. Finally, another one that you might hear and it's confusing because if you know the verb volerci, now volere means wanting, to want. Volerci is usually referred to the time that it takes to do something. For example, per arrivare a Roma ci vogliono 2 ore. Ci vogliono, it means it takes 2 hours. Ok? O per fare questa torta ci vuole 1 ora. It takes 1 hour. So volerci means the time that it takes. If you hear volerci with the ne, the meaning is a little bit different because it implies that it takes a lot of time. Okay, so per imparare una lingua ce ne vuole. It takes a bunch. It takes so much time. Okay, not necessarily. Actually, I have a special guest coming up eventually soon. It's all about finding the time slot in my schedule, but that's somebody who's learned Italian to fluency in 6 months. By living in Italy, for sure, but I want you to meet him. Amazing level of Italian conquered in 6 months, being an English speaker. Okay, so we are comparing apples with apples, and that's it. So obviously it is possible, but it does take a lot of time. So ce ne vuole. It just means it takes so much, it takes so long. Perfetto, questo è tutto per oggi. Episodio 25 è finito qui. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not a subscriber. Share the video if you think that this could help somebody you know. And watch all the other episodes of this series by clicking on the playlist up in the cards. And I will see you next week. Alla prossima, ciao ciao. Ragazzi, per non perdere nessuna lezione di italiano, attivate le notifiche. Si fa così. Prima vi iscrivete al canale, poi fate clic sulla campana vicino al bottone rosso e selezionate quest'opzione. Salvate e via! Facile, no?